Erev Tov, and welcome to everyone. And it's really, it's really a very big thrill for me, really, to see so many people.
Sí, es vraiment
So
il y a
many people
tanta gente
in the middle of a huge crisis in Europe and in the world. And this is an opportunity for us to get together and think about our response together. Today is 19 days since the beginning of the war in Ukraine, but the crisis in Ukraine started before then. The Masorti Movement, we have 5 kehilot in Ukraine. And in addition to the kehilot, we have active youth movements, summer camps, summer programs, and schools, so that literally thousands of people are or were involved with Masorti activities in Ukraine. And since the beginning of the crisis, the Masorti movement has really taken responsibility for the situation and for our communities with some foresight. Even before the beginning of the crisis, we've set up the ability to respond in Western Ukraine, but we'll hear about all of those programs later this evening. The evening is the result of our thinking that in spite of all the things that have been done, things have been done in Ukraine, things have been done in Jerusalem, things are being done in all of our communities across Europe. But I have a very strong sense that as much as we do as individuals and as much as we do as individual communities, we can do so much more if we're coordinated and we work together. And that this evening we're going to hear about what the different parts of our network are doing in order for us to strengthen the connections between our kehilot and make sure that we magnify the impact of the things that are being done in any one community and in any one place. I don't want to occupy the whole evening. We came here not to hear me. I'm going to first introduce Rabbi Mauricio Bolter, the executive director of Masorti Olami, who will introduce Rabbi Reuven and Lena Stamov, who really lead our program in Ukraine. Please, Rabbi Bolter.
Thank you, Rabbi Chaim, and Erev Tov from Israel for everyone. This is for me an honor to present here Rabbi Reuven and Lena Stamov. They are the founders of Masorti Ukraine. 10 years ago, together with Midrash Shechter, we began this program. And Rabbi Reuven and Lena, they develop all the Masorti Judaism, the communities around Ukraine. I was in the place many times, and this is a pleasure to see and to experience the Masorti Judaism in their communities. I will invite them to explain about the situation. Before this, I want to thank, first of all, to all our communities in Masorti Europe. The feeling of the Jewish solidarity is part of our people, but we feel a double solidarity because as a Jewish people, as a Masorti movement, we have a network, a very strong network with our communities. With the leader of the project to support the crisis in Ukraine, Teila, from our office, call on being in touch with each one of the communities in Europe. The response was incredible. And I want to thank, because for us to know that in a crisis, we have a network of communities, volunteers and rabbis that they are with us, give us the opportunity to try to help more and the motivation to continue to develop this important network. As thank you to all the communities, and a special thank you to Teila Reuven and the Deputy Director of Masorti Olami for all her Avodat Kodesh, so special work that she's doing. Reuven, Lena, who will begin, please, your words now.
אוקיי, אני אגיד כמה מילים רק. אני רוצה להגיד תודה רבה, באמת תודה רבה מכל הלב שלי, ואני חושב שמכל הלבבות של כל היהודים המסורתיים שהצילו.
ראובן, אז תן לחיים לתרגם.
So just a few words before we start. Reuven speaks in English and in Hebrew, and then we'll mainly speak in English. So Reuven wants to say thank you from all the heart for everything that everyone is doing, from himself and from all the members of the communities in Ukraine.
על כל העזרה שקיבלנו ושממשיכים לקבל ליהודים מסורתיים אוקראינים.
For all the help that we're receiving and we continue to receive in Ukraine.
ותודה רבה תהילה לך, תודה רבה לאדם מבודפשט שקיבל אותנו שם באופן מצוין פשוט, ותודה רבה לגיזה, רבה גיזה שמקבלת את רוב האנשים שלנו בברלין היום, וזה פשוט נפלא מה שהיא עושה שם,
So thank you to Tehila, to Adam, who has been receiving the refugees in Budapest, and to Giza, who's been receiving the refugees in her community in Berlin. It's amazing what you're doing and what you're continuing to do. So we want to hear from you. What's the situation on the ground now? What's happened, and what's the situation on the ground now?
Okay, I just also want to thank you that we have like you continue all our work, because just now we understood that we are here in a very good place, and that we are here in a safe place, but we really miss our people who are still stuck in Ukraine, and we of course miss people who are now in Germany, and we spoke to them, but now in Ukraine we could unfortunately we could not say that it's better than it was, and we have many people who stuck in Kiev. It's most of them are old people or people who didn't want to move from Kiev. Also, the same situation is in Kharkiv, that most of people who move, they are or young or have opportunities to move and have desire to move and have spirit to move. Because most of people, you know, they just don't want to leave their places. Many people who here in Kiev, and I want to tell that many our men from our communities, they went to army or went to protect their cities. And in Chernovitz we have a new group, and they are also ready to move to Europe, or they want to move without group. And now we have bad news that we have only one kehila in Dnipro that wasn't bombed before, but now it's also, Dnipro is also bombed, and maybe we will have people from Dnipro. And really, you know, that when we are talking with people, we really happy to hear many words of gratefulness that they are just can escape from Ukraine, and they can feel that they are safe in Germany, and some of them made Aliyah. And so, but you know that it will take time. We understood that every day. I also have and I talked to people who are in Kiev, and they didn't want to move from Kiev. Some of them are young with families, some of them are with children, some of them are old people, and it's difficult, very difficult to understand that they still in dangerous place, and they don't want to move. Because also they couldn't move because it's the way is also dangerous.
Lena, perhaps I'll guide you a little bit. Could you just, because not everyone knows the story, how did you get out? Can you just tell us your story?
Well, it was like, you know, it was, we could say it was like a miracle on God's providing, because we just planned as a seminar. It's a Jewish culture seminar in Chernovitz. The date was 24 of February, and we talked before that what we hear, the news, what we hear, that something will happen, and many people try to avoid this thing. They rent different hotels, cheap hotels, if something will happen. We thought it will be the eastern Ukraine, so they can escape. And we started also to find the place, because seminar we plan to do in Kharkiv, because we have a big community, school in Kharkiv, young people, NOAM in Kharkiv, day school. And in the beginning of January, we decided to do this in Chernovitz. And so we started to invite people with families, because it was also just seminar for 35 people, and people from Chernovitz, it could be maybe 40-45 people. But when Reuven understood that it will be something, because I don't remember exactly where, 20 or 22 of February, Putin told that they wanted to say that Donetsk Republic is like to say it's legal. Reuven said that something will happen, and we started to call to people to take all the families, and who can go to Chernovitz, they are all invited. And I wrote to everybody to take their documents with them. And most of people didn't believe us. So they just say, okay, it's everything will be okay. It's not now. But when people were in their way in trams, it starts. It starts in the morning, early in the morning at 3 o'clock, and people who didn't bring with them their children and families, they started to cry, to call us what to do, and we said that just call them to get from the Kiev, from Kharkiv. And many people took their cars and they started to move to Western Ukraine, but it took 2 days. They were on their ways during 2 days, because all the way were in traffic jams, and there wasn't petrol in the station, not oil. So and they were with little children and with animals. And we prayed, and we continue our seminar just to organize them and have their program, prayers and lessons and Shabbat together. So we could gather maybe 60 or 65 people in one hotel for 30 people. And Chernovitz community, they very helped us. And then also the seminar was finished, and also thank you to Masorti Movement and to Schechter Institute and to all communities who gathered money. We could have opportunity to buy food, to prepare food, and organize transport, and to organize different, how to tell it, to help people to organize them, because they were really shocked. Really, they didn't want, they called their relatives, invite them. And you know that I also feel like just when you invite people and people say, no, I will stay in Kyiv in my flat, in my own situation, and you can't help them, but they are really in danger. But I just believe that most of people, they are or abroad, or people who start in Kyiv, they have very strong spirit, because every day I talk to them and I ask them, maybe they need to go to Chernovitz, maybe they need food, or maybe they say, everything is okay, we will be in our flat, thank you for calling, we remember, thank you that you remember us. But it's very sad to know that people are in danger. But we have also people who are in army, and they are ready to defend their Ukraine, and they believe that they can help protect their families. So we have a lot of heroes in our community, and we have a lot of people with very strong spirit. And you know that we were talking today with people with Vernik, Steve Vernik, and just the same, just to tell what happened. And he said, we believe that all what happened, that we feel that everyone can help us. We feel and we saw what all of you do for Ukrainian Jews, for Ukrainian communities, what we see in Budapest, what people see in Berlin, how also we were, when we came to Israel and didn't understand, when we saw faces of Mauricio, Tehila, and Irena and David. So you know that we understood that, and I know that people understood that what we're talking in our synagogues, in drashot, in tefillot, and we also can see the action, and people can see it. It's not just we are part of the ceremonies. So we really want to thank to everyone. And it's really difficult to say, but we need to tell about this. We also have some, feelings now that we really miss people in Kyiv. So that's our magical story. We are here, but we also...
One more question from me before we move on, but I understand that a group of you, we'll be hearing later, came out and reached Budapest and reached Berlin, and that you came to Israel. Are there currently, what about the people still in Ukraine? Are people still coming to Chernovitz? Are there more people coming out?
Yes, people still come to Chernovitz, and they still go to their relatives if they have, because everyone understands that it's difficult to organize big bus or something like this, or maybe some people need their special plans and some business. But it's impossible now to move for men. You know that they have to stay in Ukraine. But most of people who are in Chernovitz, it's parents, it's old people, 60 years and more now in this group that then they can move. We brought young people. We brought young people, and we brought people and children and families. It was a seminar for culture, and I invite some NOAM some NOAM parents, but what group, what we have now, it's people who are, or someone parent, it's 60 more, or it will people who come from Kharkiv. The Kharkiv is the most destroyed city now. Now we also have only Mariupol and Kiev region. Kiev region, it's also destroyed. And you know that we have a people who are in Odessa. Today I spoke to our Madrich NOAM in Odessa, and he said that most of people with young children, they still in Odessa. Odessa, they are very patriotic. They have patriotic spirit. They love their city, and they didn't want to move. People still is in Odessa. So we have another, and what we do now, we just call people if they want to move to Chernovitz. And I know that there is a group in Chernovitz, because also we speak with Lev, with Rosh Kehillah, and we need to prepare another bus somewhere. I don't know where, because I know that what Geza did, it's really amazing things. But you know, when you work with people with post-trauma, it's you know how it's very, very hard to organize them, to listen to them, and how to work with them. But we need another to move another group now. And we have a lot of people, Jewish people, not from our communities, but we have a lot of people from Kiev region, from Lviv, from Mariupol. It's not conservative Jews, but it's people who we really can't imagine what people went through now.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, and we want to hear so much more, but there are other parts of the story also, and I want to thank you and Reuven, and it's so wonderful to see both of you and your lovely family safe at the moment, but we understand that there's a lot more to this story. I didn't mention at the beginning, and I will now, that if you want to hear in Spanish or in French, at the bottom of your screen, there's a button that says interpretation, and choose the language that you want to listen in. And if you want to hear it in English, then you choose English, but I didn't mention that at the beginning. And at this point, I'm going to move on, and I'm now introducing Tehila Reuven, who's been coordinating the whole rescue operation from the offices of Masorti Olami in Jerusalem. Tehila is a good friend of ours. We speak every day, and then usually more than once each day. And she's the vice executive director of Masorti Olami, but she has special responsibility for Europe. So we work together on all of our projects, and Ukraine has been a very, very big project. And Tehila, I would like to hear from you a little bit about what have we been doing? What has Masorti Olami been doing? Tell us about the center in Chernovitz and how the people got out, and the coordination with the communities, and the next stage of the story.
Okay, great. Thank you, Rabbi Chaim. And thank you, Lena and Rabbi Reuven. I mean, I know for the past 2 weeks, I've been working so closely with you guys and the rest of the communities, but to hear the story again from your mouths it kind of doesn't feel real. And, you know, thank you for joining us for this. I know you're doing many interviews and many calls, but I think that it's important. And I think that this is part of the help by sharing your story and our story. So I will start by saying that generally when I've spoken to communities around the world about the work that we're doing, we don't have other representatives to share their story. So here today, we're honored to have representatives from our other communities that will share their work. So I'm gonna limit it to kind of an overall picture and what we've been doing so far. And I will split basically between two topics. One, the work within Ukraine and the work outside and around Ukraine. So I'll start off. I know that Rabbi Balter and Rabbi Wiener both mentioned our communities, but in Ukraine, and I just want to kind of give a list of them so you understand geographically what we're talking about. So we have a community in Kiev, in Kharkiv, in Chernovitzy, a smaller community in Dnipro, and a community in Odessa. And basically, since the war started, the community in Chernovitzy has been the unofficial refugee camp. And I think, I'm sure today there's even more, but there's been over 500 people that have passed through that refugee camp. And I say that, those 500 people are not necessarily all from our communities, and it doesn't matter, but they've really set up a system there that works. And together with the Schechter Institutes, we have rented apartments, we have gotten more hotel rooms, whatever is needed to really set that up for them. And Chernovitzy right now is one of the safer cities, and that's why they've been able to host people. And over, when this all started in the very beginning, we were met with some serious challenges. There was no way to transfer money to our communities. There was no way for individuals to withdraw cash from the cash machines. As Lena said, there was no gas or petrol to be traveling to other cities, and there was crazy traffic. And this was, I think, all the panic of the first few days. But those were serious challenges, and we really, we're starting to think of how we creative ways of how we can get money there, how we can get things there, and really over the past 2 weeks, we've learned how to help them in the best ways, and thankfully, we can now transfer money and they can withdraw money, but our communities in Ukraine still need serious support. The people that are not able to leave for whatever reason or choose not to leave don't have access to food and to medicine like they normally do, and to other basic needs. So that's something we've been staying on top of. I mean, even this morning I went here in Jerusalem to a pharmacy, actually to 3 different pharmacies, because I was limited into how much I could buy, and to buy a whole bunch of supplies, because we have someone going to Ukraine this evening, and that they're going to bring just basic medical supplies, things like that, and sending money to the communities so that they can buy food and host possibly even a Shabbat dinner or whatever it is. So those are some of the things that we're doing within Ukraine. And in addition, I think I used the metaphor at some point, like playing chess, moving these chess pieces around. People are contacting me, Masorti Movement and Schechter all day long about, they're stuck in this city and they need to get out, or they're stuck by the border and they need to get out. We have this overall whole picture, and I almost feel like our job is to basically move everyone where they need to go. So that brings me to outside of Ukraine. I think it's already now a week and a half since we brought out our first group of refugees, which that was what Lena was talking about. We managed to take a group, which was about, I think, a total of 40 people, which was a bus and 2 cars, through the border of Romania. And we actually had some serious help from the JDC on that end. They helped us with the logistics in Romania, the bus. We actually needed an ambulance to transport someone who was needed, a little bit more attention. And they welcomed our group once they crossed the border after many hours of travel. And these connections, it's unbelievable how everyone has just dropped everything, the organizations, the individuals, and just basically to help and receive and do whatever they can. And it was also for us, here in Israel and playing the chess game, it was extremely comforting to know that they were in good hands. And once they crossed in the border, we finally were able to get them to a city that was close to the border of Hungary. It's a town called Oradea. It's in Romania. I had never heard of it before, and I've never heard of their Jewish community there before, but as soon as the Jewish community heard that about 40 refugees are coming their way, they immediately just took care of them, insisted on hosting a meal, insisted on meeting them at the hotel, and it was absolutely incredible to witness, and again, just a comfort knowing that they were taking care of each step of the way. I'll speak specifically about this big group right now, but I also want to address the individual families that have been crossing over on their own. This group then made their way to Budapest, where our community, our NOAM center in Budapest, led by Adam Schoenberger, basically completely took them in. And I mean, while it was only they could only stop over for a few hours, Adam and I must have spoken, every 15 minutes. He had so many volunteers just stop everything they're doing, completely cook an entire home-cooked meal for all 40 refugees, and go out and buy COVID tests, which they needed for their next destination, and just absolute above and beyond for every single one of them. And there was also a group of refugees that were staying in Budapest, because they were continuing on to Israel, so they didn't necessarily need to go on to Berlin. And Adam and his team have been on top of them, have helped, and it's, as I've been saying, everyone has different needs. I mean, whether it's bureaucratic, whether it's physical needs or medical needs or emotional needs, and there's no way we, Masorti Olami or Masorti Europe can tend to all of these needs. We need people on the ground that can give special attention. So that's what Adam and his team have been. I will also, before I continue with the next destination, off to Berlin, I want to mention our communities in Prague and in Poland, in Warsaw. In, I think, Poland, led by Joe and Abigail, who hopefully are on this call as well. Our community in Warsaw, I think, was our first community to receive refugees, which Rabbi Giza actually coined the phrase that we're going to now refer to them as guests. So I think our community in Warsaw was the first community to receive guests. And thank you, Joe and Abigail, for, again, completely taking them in, and whether it was the bureaucracy or even just, Abigail speaks Russian or Ukrainian, and was able to finally speak to these people and find out what they need and find out where they need to go. So that was our first experience with a community welcoming refugees, and I will say that they continue to get calls and to help out. I know not only to refugees that come through Masorti, there's to anyone and everyone. So thank you guys. And our community in Prague, led by Rabbi Ron Hofberg as well. I mean, no words for, in the middle of the night, they accepted people and basically walked them through whatever they needed to do and got them on the train. And Rabbi Ron's assistant, Denisa, as well, from the community, they dedicated everything. They must have stopped their day job to do this. And as I'll reiterate what Rabbi Balter said, the amount of support, not only financial, not only physical, also emotional support for every single one of us that are involved, has been so overwhelming that I think it's important to share that we would not be able to do it without your support. I think, I know that there's some people that are more on the front lines than others, but I really strongly believe that this is a group effort. And those people on the front line would not be able to do what they're doing if it wasn't for every single one of your efforts, financial, physical, anything else, because we're dependent on each other. So I just want to reiterate that message. And it's something that I think we all knew before, but it's not something that we really, I don't want to say we took it for granted, but it's times like these that remind you that we have something here. We have something very strong here. And I thank all of our communities and all of those communities that have expressed interest and are pushing to take on refugees to help. I mean, we have community members all across Europe. I mean, the truth is all across the world that are connecting us to different hotel owners and to different business owners to get discounts and deals. And it's been endless and it's been very helpful. So I will kind of end towards the final destination of that group, which is Berlin. And I will leave more of the details to Rabbi Giza and her team to speak about that. But I just want to paint the picture that at 5 a.m. on Wednesday morning, I think a week ago already, I completely lost track, but 5 a.m, the bus of, I think at this point it's less than 30 people, maybe 28 people, arrives to Berlin. And Rabbi Giza made sure that there was a representative waiting at the hotel to greet them and to help distribute the room and to take care of the COVID test and make sure everyone was negative for entering the hotel. And that same representative that met them there, who happens to be the CEO of Masorti Germany, she a few hours later was up and met them for the day, for all of their logistical work and work that they needed to do the next day. And that alone says it all. But the amount of work and just volunteers that have come together in that community is mind-blowing. And they have a school, a kindergarten, a day school, and everything happened so quickly. They immediately brought the kids to start kindergarten the next day, and immediately found volunteers who are Russian or Ukrainian speakers. And it's something that, I mean, again, it's times like these. I didn't even know that the community was capable of putting something together. But in a few days, they came up with this entire plan to just accept 30 refugees. And I know that they even are waiting for more. So it's incredibly comforting and helpful and encouraging. So I want to thank Rabbi Giza. I want to thank really all of the communities. We still have individuals coming out, I don't want to say on an hourly basis, but let's say on a daily basis, to Romania, to Moldova, to all the communities that I mentioned. And I think it's going to increase. As Lena said, we're trying to build towards our next group to get them out. Luckily, we now have experience that hopefully it can go even more smooth than the first time. But I know that a lot of communities across Europe have asked how they can help, when can they take in guests, etc. And I want to say that I think your turn will come, because I think that it's not practical to have one community take in all of the guests from Ukraine. So I can say that we are working together with different organizations, with NOAM and other organizations on creating a database of volunteers who, what they'll be able to volunteer for, how long they can host for, etc. So that's something that we're putting together, and we will hopefully launch as well for everyone to participate in. And I'll put in the chat a bit later that we're also running a fundraising campaign, which has been going on for 2 weeks, which, at times I know people feel that writing a check is sometimes not enough, but being on the other side of it, as I said before, I literally see where your money is going, and I literally see how it's saving lives, and we absolutely need it in order to continue our efforts. So I will stop there. I think I even went over my time, but there's so many stories to tell, and it's so important. And I encourage you all to just follow the stories, whether it's on Masorti Olami's updates, Masorti Europe's updates, on our Facebook pages, on the local communities pages, because it gives me hope, and I hope it gives you guys hope as well.
Thank you so much, Tila. I know how endlessly you've been working on it. All of us have been working on it. I've been aware that some of us are part of this story. And Reuven and Lena, I know you spent 25 hours standing in the queue to get across the border into Romania. But lots of us, for 25 hours, were checking our telephones every 5 minutes to see, are they across yet? Are they across yet? And we're all living this experience together. I want to move on. So we've up until now, we've heard the story of Ukraine and the efforts to rescue people from Ukraine. The next part of the story is looking at the guests, the refugees, and how our Masorti communities are kind of are facing the challenge. And we're looking at it from two different angles, what we call the front line and the second line. And there are tasks for each of our communities to do. So we're concentrating first on two representatives from frontline communities. Our first speaker, the next speaker from this section, is Rabbi Geza Edelberg from our community in Berlin, and who leads Masorti Germany. And as you've heard, has welcomed 30 guests in your community. And I'd like you to tell us a little bit about what you've done, what you're doing, and perhaps insights on kind of what we can be doing in order to do it as good as possible. Rabbi Edelberg.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Chaim. Thank you so much, Tila, for the wonderful introduction. Before starting, I want to welcome also Mario Marcus, the president of Masorti Germany, who's also on the call. Just good to see you, Mario. We've been on the phone a lot these days, and to see you here is just great. So I'll just pick up from where Tehila actually left. We have 40 Ukrainian guests, because we have also 10 people who came individually from Odessa. They got out by plane, which was amazing. One of our congregants did meet them at the airport and took them to another family who took in 3 of them, passed the 3 of them, I think, on to their neighbors, non-Jewish neighbors, and the others to friends just 2 blocks down the street. So we have kind of an Odessa center in East Berlin at the moment. It's been totally mind-blowing and amazing how my congregation has reacted and stood up. I have people who are like really, impatient, like why didn't we get guests in the first term? So Tehila, Reuven, and Lena, please send us more people because I need to fill these beds and mattresses, so to speak. It's been, as Tehila already said, when we had a wonderful Erev Shabbat together with our Ukrainian guests at the Masorti school, and what you see behind me actually is the entrance panel at the school, where the kids already put up signs and their own drawers to their own paintings to welcome the guests. When we were sitting there, I said, I was always dreaming about having an exchange and having the Masorti communities all over Europe visiting each other. So on one level, this is just Masorti Ukraine visiting Masorti Berlin, and you are here, you're sleeping, with home hospitality, etc. And that's the one level where also our contribution to this and just being in touch and working with the Masorti congregations is so special, right? We would like to help everybody. We can't help everybody. So by focusing on our own people, we can give them something, a feeling of being at home, which I think is unique. And after having a bed, clothes, and food, that's the next thing you need. You need to feel, to find this spiritual home. And therefore, I think it's so crucial. So the update really is the Masorti Nursery School, which has 80 kids, has opened a new group. Our nursery school is bilingual Hebrew-German in 3 classes and English-German in 2 classes. Now we have another group, which is Ukrainian, Russian, German, Hebrew speaking. We do have educators. You need to know as a background to that about 40% of German Jews have Ukrainian roots or family connections. So we are talking about a community at large, which is absolutely ready. People speak Russian. Suddenly people pop up. Let me give you one example. I spoke with the former mathematics teacher of my own kids, who is already retired, because we're looking for teachers. And then while we were speaking, I thought she was Russian, right? Because that's, you talk about the Russians. And now then suddenly she says, well, I've been working at the Jewish school in Odessa for 10 years before coming to Germany. So this is like 25 years ago, but there you are with the connection. We booked a hotel thanks to Tehila and the donations you are giving. We can do such things like just book a hotel, and also it took us some adjustment to say, okay, let's book it for 2 nights so that the people can have a moment of rest before we pass them on to the families. And I booked it just because it's ideally located. And then I realized they say that they speak Russian on the website. And then I spoke to the receptionist, and she had a quite heavy Russian accent in her German. And later I get a call from the owner who goes, Shalom, like with this heavy Russian accent, but talking to me in Hebrew. And by now we are also taking, helping him and advising him about his aunt and niece who he brought out from the Ukraine just recently. Pure coincidence. The school, which is new, we started the school only in 2018, will start a special class for the Ukrainian kids tomorrow, actually tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We are inviting all the kids in school age. The school is a primary school, so actually it's only 1st to 6th grade, but we decided that we'll take all the kids in and start German with everybody. And then as soon as the Jewish high school, which is run by the Berlin Jewish community, will be ready, they are not yet ready, we might pass on the older kids so that they will have their own classes in their own grades. Germany is absolutely ready for that. I'm just as a side mark, public transportation in Berlin is for free if you have a Ukrainian passport, or using the phone. German Telecom for Ukrainian numbers is for free at the moment, and using the railway in Germany is for free if you come with a Ukrainian passport or a different passport and can show that you have come from the Ukraine. So we can really rely on a network and on structures which are being set up. Ukrainians can come to Germany just with their passport for 90 days as tourists. And we are currently in the situation of telling people, do not register yet, wait, because the Central Council of Jews in Germany is working with the German government on establishing an easy way for Jews to register already for permanent, stay and work permits, etc. So this might take another week or so, and we're talking about German bureaucracy moving really quickly. And then we will start register those people who want to stay in that situation. And dear Reuven and Lena, we haven't spoken so much. We'll get back to you about maybe needs for Jewish documentation, etc. We are right now preparing for Purim. And our idea was we do online a Megillah reading both in the evening and the morning. And then I said, okay, we'll have something in place in person for our Ukrainian guests, and maybe do something hybrid. But then my congregants who were supposed to read the Megillah online said, no, they want to be there. So now we just canceled our online Megillah reading, and everybody will get together in the Jewish school, both the congregation and our Ukrainian guests. And those who still feel because of COVID that they don't want to, join such a big meeting, will join New London Synagogue on their Zoom. We just arranged that so that we can be in person together. What else can I tell you? We have, as I said, we have the families, everybody but one family has left the hotel before Shabbat. So they came in Wednesday morning. We met with, and by Friday noon, everybody but one family had found home hospitality, which is amazing. We can take in more people. We have a little bit done of strategizing and prioritizing. Right now, we are still fine being the first contact person for whoever comes. We have set up special phone numbers, etc. When the moment we feel that we can't do that anymore, and if obviously, in the next bus from Chernovitz, it's just we're already waiting for that and preparing for it. The moment we feel we can't do that anymore, we will pass on the first reception line to the Berlin Jewish community, who have set up a Merkaz Klita, a welcome center at the JCC. I was there twice already to speak with the people in charge, and they offer, you can get there right from the train station. They have clothes, they have, hygienic products, they offer warm kosher meals. They help also with hotel spaces. And then, when we feel we can't, I think we can take in personally another 50 people at least, before we are at this limit. And then we will continue taking in people, especially from the Masorti communities, in terms of nursery school and school. The nursery school is ready for...
You need to finish up.
Yes, the nursery school has space for at least 20 more kids right now. And the school is going to set up for up to 30 kids. And even if these places will be full, we will obviously still want everybody for Shabbat in the shul. One thing, and with that, I think that's a great closure also. When I was looking at my congregation, Reuven, I'm sorry to say that, I consider them my congregation now, we can share that responsibility. When I was looking at them and I saw all the teenagers, all the NOAM teenagers, I immediately said, wow, we need to do something about that. And Tehila has already spoken, we have already spoken. We will set up, we have tried to set up in NOAM Berlin several times, and it has kind of started and been more or less active, and then COVID hit, etc. Now we have, I think, 8 teenagers who are NOAM kids from Kiev and Odessa, and we have somebody who can organize them. So for us, this will be what the Ukrainian guests will bring to us to get our NOAM going. And my NOAM kids are already, prepared in cooperation. So this is not one congregation giving or doing tzedakah for the others. This is we as Masorti living our lives together.
Okay, thank you very much. And wonderful work that is being done, and the ability to rise to the occasion and the needs is amazing. I want to move to another one of our frontline communities, which is Budapest. And a few minutes we'll hear from Adam. You were the first community to receive the group that came out from Chernovitz, and interested in hearing what's happening in Budapest.
Hello to everyone. Shalom, 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 Reuven. So we, it was a very, have been a very, very interesting and very troublesome time for us here in Hungary. In Hungary, there are more than 200,000 Ukrainian refugees already. Among them, we think many Jewish, and Budapest is also full of refugees. Actually, you can see in the street everywhere. And one of the most striking thing for me was when we received the group, and as I'm just wandering in the city and trying to help, is that how many women alone with their kids are arriving, and how heartbreaking could be, without, the fathers of the kids, without the husbands, and how strong and how courageous these women are. So it's before Purim, I think it's also a very, very important thing that women are really in the front line. Also, when we heard that this group is approaching to Hungary, Tehila told us, by the way, Tehila, thank you so much. You just awesome, and of course the whole Masorti Olami and all of the people that supporting the approach, helping the Masorti community in Ukraine. Thank you so much, because this shared effort is just wonderful. So among, these whole horrible things and this, and in the midst of this horror, it's something that we can believe in. And so when we heard that this group is approaching, and Taylor told us that no problem, we have money, buy them food or do something. You don't have to cook or do anything like this. We thought, all of us in our community, that we have to be together, and we have to be there and cook and show that we are a community, that we are together, we are a family. The community is not bordered only in Budapest or it's not only in Hungary, but the community is the Masorti community, and we are, as Geza told, we are all members of this community. If it's Kharkiv, if it's Los Angeles, or if it's in Jerusalem, we are one family, and we are cooking for our family members. We are not buying food, we're trying to cook for our family members, and many people from our community volunteered. I think we were more than a dozen people together, cooked and buy foods and etc. And we also welcomed the community, which again was very, very heartbreaking. I think we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how to welcome or how to absorb a refugee group of more than 40 people. And yes, it was very heartbreaking. I think maybe we will be more fluent and professional in the next couple of times, but the first thing was we have to really understand that what is this situation. And I think it's almost impossible to understand that how it is to be a refugee, like from one day to another. And I think our work and our job and our must are to do what we can do. And one of our community, like we just spoke about it before, that we are waiting for, when we waited for the group, and one of our community members told us that why we are in the middle of the 21st century. We are Jewish, and we are learning Jewish. We are learning Hebrew. We are going and learning Torah and Talmud, and we are praying together, and we are building a community. But why we are doing it in the middle of the 21st century? Like, this is something that people are often asked. Why? What is the role to be Jewish? Why we are Jewish? What is this? And he answered that maybe that was it, like that this is the thing that we prepared for. This is the things why we learned so much about Jewish values, and why we put together a community together to be able to work in such a role, and to work with our Jewish brothers and sisters, and to help them and to be them together. And so that was one of the most interesting thing that I heard, and I think it has something in it. It was also, sorry, I'm not speaking about too many practical things. Maybe I will tell a couple of practical things afterwards, but just one other thing that these people, there are like a lot of kids in the groups. Like in this group of 40, the half of the group were 20, like 20 of them were teens or 8-9 years old kids. They were together in Ukraine. They went to the same camp. They went to NOAM. They were once. They were each other's friend, and they, one of, or two of them, went to Berlin. Another 3% went to Israel, and they had to say goodbye to each other, and they cried there, and it was really heartbreaking to see that what the war is doing, with us, and how war is taking us apart. But as I mentioned before, I know that, and we are not able to under-evaluate anything, but at least we can say that yes, the war is taking us apart, but still we are a community, and as a community we can work together, and this is the most important thing, and this is why I'm very thankful to be the member of this community called Masorti, or Conservative Judaism. And the two different—
One more minute.
Yeah, okay, 1 more minute. So practical things, I think we are here and prepared for the next couple of buses, or for the next couple of refugee group, of course. We are working together with the Sokhnut and with the Jewish Federation here to be able to work on the bureaucracy of Aliyah, and also to feed the people, to find hotel and find place for them. Also, the community is welcoming people so they can be the guests of the families. So we are here, and we will work with the Israeli embassy, with the consulate, and also with the Federation to help those that they want to do an Aliyah. And I think that will be one of our major tasks here, to help and to channel the people to the right places to be able to do Aliyah. So again, thank you so much, and we are waiting for the other challenges and the other groups, of course.
Thank you so much, Adam. And it's wonderful to hear how much you're doing. And I think actually you caught exactly the sentiment that I feel, not just in Budapest and not just in Eastern Europe, but also in Western Europe. I wrote down the words as you said it. You said, we have to be together and we want to be there. And I think that we very much all have this sense that this is a time that we're being tested. This is a time of challenge, and we want to be there, and we want to do our part. Now, how we do our part is a question of geography, and it's a question of the ability of communities to help. And it's obvious that the first communities to need to rise to the challenge are the communities in Eastern Europe, and there's the ones receiving the refugees first. But as people get settled, then there's also going to be a question of where people want to be and how people move forward. And then there's also going to be questions of if the people in the front line get overwhelmed, how do we use the resources that come from the other European communities? So the next section of the evening, I've asked two of the leaders of our large communities in the western part of Europe to talk about how their communities are reacting to the situation in Ukraine, what their resources are, and what does it mean to be there and to be part if you're not next to the Ukrainian border. So we'll hear from Rabbi Jonathan from London and from Rabbi Josh in Paris, but we'll start in London. Jonathan, please.
Thank you. It's extremely humbling and very inspiring to listen to everybody. And my main question is, how can we from here, where we're not in the front line, help and support the communities who really are? It's been frustrating to say to people again and again, the most important thing you can do at the moment is to give money and be prepared. And we've supported Masorti Olami's appeal together with World Jewish Relief, which is the British equivalent of the Joint. We also have had a few people reach this country, and many members, many more than I thought, who've got relatives, family and friends in Ukraine or nearby about whom they're deeply worried. So we're setting up structures for emotional and therapeutic support. We've also set up a desk ahead of time for the many, many people who volunteered their homes. We're looking at all kinds of backup services because the community here has a lot of experience in supporting refugees from other parts of the world, from Syria, from Afghanistan, from Congo, and elsewhere. We're very frustrated with our government's awkward, slow procedure. The Jewish community has been at the forefront of objecting to it. And just today, the government has announced a sponsorship scheme which we can apply for to host refugees in our homes. We're not necessarily anticipating that these will be people who are Jewish, though if there anybody that you know who wants to come this way, we'd be more than delighted. We'd be so grateful to feel that we can help. The government scheme asks for us to guarantee that we'll host people for not less than 6 months and preferably more, and has details about who we are, how many people we can accommodate. We're looking at our communities also being hubs for, we anticipate that it will be mothers and children and older people for the reasons that have just been spoken, and we're getting ourselves prepared. And we want to know how we can help in person as well across what's happening in Central and Eastern Europe. We've also made links with the local Ukrainian church and its leadership so that we can stand in solidarity across our faiths. And I think we're ready to take responsibility. Not only that, we feel somewhat ashamed that we haven't been able as yet to do much more than give money, but we're ready to help and we want to be asked.
Thank you so much. And I'm moving quickly over to Paris, and I'll ask Rabbi Josh, please, to give us a picture of what's happening in the French Jewish community.
Okay, thank you. And it's nice to look at this sea of faces and really feel, in many ways, it's an extended family of people, and I'm seeing friends and colleagues in Berlin, in Poland, and in Budapest, and in London, and it's very warming to see this. And I think my personality is more, I want to be on the front line. I want to be cooking soup and just helping people one at a time. And as Jonathan said, the truth is what we need to be doing now is sending material support. We have in our community, in Adat Shalom, I think our two natural partners are obviously the Masorti and the Shechter institutes, and we've been pushing our community to support financially. And the other is a French organization, the FSGU, which is a big French organization that's coordinating support in the Jewish community. Some refugees are arriving in France. I think there's been 10,000 so far in France. And so we're doing our part to collect food and collect medicine. Part of our Purim collections are going to be dedicated to this. And it's wonderful and a bit humbling in our position as a big community. Lots of offers of support are coming to me as a rabbi, and people are asking for help, and I'm able to connect the two. So at the moment, it's been actually a feeling of success. Every time someone's asked, can you help this person coming in? Can you find a translator? Can you support? Do you have an empty home? So far, I've been able to find a person who can say yes. So at the moment, with the numbers very small, that's a good feeling. But again, I think our role at the moment is to be supporting the frontline communities and preparing maybe for another wave of refugees. And just one thing I'd like to finish with, which hasn't been mentioned yet. Our Rabbi Reuven spoke at the very beginning of the war Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, as a model for responding to crisis. And he spoke about how Jacob prepared for the encounter with his brother, and he prepared for war, and he prepared diplomatic solutions, and he prayed. And we haven't said it so much, but really I think our prayers implicitly, explicitly, are all with the communities in Ukraine, the people of Ukraine, and it's not nothing. It's something really that's on our hearts and focusing our minds and shaping our actions at the moment.
Thank you very much. So I want to start to move towards bringing the evening to the close. In a few minutes, I'll invite Sandra Blancy-Cohen, who is our president of Masorti Europe, to say the thank yous. Before they say the thank yous, just 2 words from me. We've heard lots of amazing things being done by a lot of really wonderful people. And we can see the difference between the needs in different parts of our network. And the thing that I want to emphasize for all of us is that this is a long-term project. Unfortunately, the crisis in Ukraine, this isn't a flavor of the week, and this isn't something that's going to go away next week. And as the crisis develops, the needs in different parts of our network are going to change. I imagine that over time, people are going to be moving, and they'll be moving further west, and there'll be more demands on the communities in the western part of Europe, and the needs in the eastern part of Europe will also change with time. And right, stamina is a really important element when facing a long-term crisis. People are asking me what to do, particularly people in our communities in Western Europe who are frustrated that they're not doing enough. And I just want to point out 2 things. The first thing is, I was once a combat soldier in the Israeli army, and we knew that the relationship between the combat soldiers and the support units was 20% combat and 80% support units. And kind of the whole network depends on the ability of people to support the people on the front line. What can you do at this point? You can contribute, because the ability to have the money there to rent the rooms in the hotels in Chernovich, and to make sure that people can pass through Romania, and to make sure that the buses are there, though that's kind of makes a huge difference to have the means or not have the means to act on the spot when things need to be done. Sign up to the newsletters so that you're getting the information, so that you know what's going on, and so that you can be part of it. And let people know what we're doing. We can be proud of what we're doing as a Masorti community. We can be proud of what we're doing as Masorti Europe. We are not just bystanders, but we have the ability to do something with our people in our community. And those aren't small things, those are really big things. And ultimately, I don't want to forget to say it, that we all want to rise to the occasion, and we want to make sure that people are settled, and we want to make sure that people are helped. But ultimately, our goal isn't to settle people well in Berlin and to settle people well in London. Our goal is to reach a peace in Ukraine that allows the important work that we're doing to continue and to thrive. And we mustn't forget that we want to support the communities there, and we want to make sure that those communities have a future. And it's kind of, I can't thank the people who joined us this evening enough, but this is only the beginning of the journey. And we want you together with us. We want you to be part of that journey, and we want you to be supporting that journey as we move forward. So for the last words, I'm inviting the president of Masorti Europe, Sandra Cohen, to have the last word.
Okay, so on behalf of the entire board of Masorti Europe, I really want to let you know that we stand together with you, with all the Ukrainians and especially the Jews, and we will do anything in our possibilities to help you. I would like to thank everyone who made this evening possible. And I don't want to mention names because I might forget people, but really, you did an incredible job. Yashar Koach. And I want to finish off by let's all pray for peace, especially in the Ukraine, on all of the world. Let's say Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Good night to everyone.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, so much. And we'll leave it on for a few minutes if people want to say some words, but otherwise the evening has come to an end.